Thank you very much for inviting me to offer some opening remarks at this webinar event on community leadership and disaster resilience. This event is an opportunity to acknowledge the work of the Paul Ramsay Foundation, Monash University, the Australian Centre for Social Innovation and Metal Manufacturers Limited is undertaking this research in developing the Fire to Flourish program.
The recent IPCC report makes clear that Australia is experiencing the impacts of climate change right now, and that we need to be prepared for worsening extreme weather, including more frequent and severe bushfires, droughts, heat waves and coastal flooding, and of course more intense cyclones as well.
Us down. And in March last year, we were able to actually step back and take a breather and to look around. And that was actually quite good for us. At the time, I think we felt, oh, this is really going to slow down our recovery. But having that time really enabled us to continue our get-togethers as community and to really come to understand what recovery looked like specifically for Cobargo, because as you said, Bryony, there is no one size that fits all.
I think after COVID, we were also separated, that there was not a lot of that communication, and because it came so quickly afterwards, we lost a lot of those opportunities to be together.
In many ways, it is that sense of community, that it is something that we're in it together, we look out for one another. It's all about the greater good, the good of the community. For me, they're really the principles, I guess, that, for me, it's when we do focus on aspiration as opposed to problems to solve, that's when I see the shift. I've done work in a different context in a community on the North Coast where, there were some tragic events that had happened decades ago, in fact, that had really divided that community. And I was in that community when they got some devastating news from the New South Wales government about a court action that they were pursuing. And I saw such anger and such despair from young people who hadn't even been born when the events that people were still talking about had happened. And there was this kind of sense of, what are we doing here? This has been going on for decades, and this beautiful little community so deeply divided, and government really not doing much to assist, in many ways. And it was only when we shifted the conversation from the problem to fix to what's the aspiration that this community has for their future, that we saw all of the community come together in much the same way that Zena has described as having in Cobargo.
Amber, what do you see as the opportunities for bringing children and young people's voices into discussions about the future to, provide that beacon and that direction for all of us to think about how we shape our recovery and development going forward?
Yeah, well, as Jason mentioned, a lot of people, when they're thinking about these kind of things, they're talking about educating their children in the future and stuff, and that kind of made me remember something else. I'd also like to kind of concurrently answer one of the questions that someone put in the Q&A box about examples for youth-friendly language and communication. One of the things that I think a lot of Year 12 students found last year was that they were going through their exams in a very, very difficult time.
Do no harm. Don't add to the many pressures that are already threatening social cohesion post-disaster, and work on unifying, not dividing. So listen hard. All the points that Jason and Amber have made. Listen to the stories.
One word, empowerment. But let me expand on what it means. For me, empowerment is really about local communities having the agency to, real say over real alternatives. It means building capability and confidence to set and pursue their own aspirations, and it means having genuine relationships and partnerships that are beneficial and support their efforts to achieve their aspirations.
Thanks again. I look forward to flourishing communities all over Australia.